people are putting up more money than they can afford to lose, and inadvertently when things go south, suddenly now you've lost all this money, like you've lost all your savings.
GM Satvik, how are you?
GM, man, good. How are you?
All good, all good. Nice to see you here. I just want to say hi to all the people who have joined in early. Hi Jay, hi Makin, hi Prabjot. It's Cheeto. Nice name. Wiz, I see you. Uh, Rogue NFT collector, I see you. I see you guys. Jake, Sin, Ninja, Trials. Just want to say hi. How's it going, Satvik? What are you up to?
Um, I have just been working on Circle and my day job all day so far.
Uh huh.
Just been looking forward to this spaces. To be honest, it's my first time doing like a spaces where I'm talking about my own life and some of the stuff I'm working on. So I'm super excited, and thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. And why did you? I mean, firstly, we are happy to get you on, and like this is your first spaces where you'll be publicly talking about yourself, more about Circle than you've disclosed. And like, how do you feel about that? And why did you pick these Twitter spaces to do this?
Yeah, no, I'm just excited. I think the story that I have probably resonates with a lot of people in this space, just like coming from an underrepresented background as an immigrant, and there's been a bunch of challenges that I've had to face that I'm sure we'll get into. But um, I've had people reaching out, some really good friends over the past few weeks, wanting to host spaces for Circle and wanting to support. But I think with your show, the reason I wanted this to be maybe the first one that we do is because I think your audience is an audience that might resonate more deeply with my personal background, growing up in India, moving abroad, all the challenges that I've faced. And I think it hopefully inspires people to also just undertake the journey they want to and, start something themselves, because even though it has been challenging, it's also been really rewarding at the same time to see just how far we've been able to come, just how well we've been able to bring together a community with us. And so that's why. And I've just been a fan of your show. So I really just wanted to be on spaces with you.
Awesome, man. I'm honored that you chose us. And yeah, like I think we have a lot of people from India and underrepresented countries. But I would like to know a little bit about you, right? Like where were you? Like which city are you from? India. When did you move out? Where are you currently located? Tell us a little bit about that journey.
Sure. Yeah. So my dad was in the army. So we used to move around quite a bit. He was in the Indian Army when I was growing up, and I was actually born in Bareilly in Uttar Pradesh. And then kind of moved all around India. I literally changed schools 7 times growing up because my dad would get posted to different cities. Um, Ultimately, we settled in Delhi. And so, if someone asks now, that's where I say I'm from, because I spent most of my life in New Delhi and did all my schooling and everything there. Then in 2016, I moved to America, moved to New York for college, went to a school in upstate New York called Binghamton, which is the State University of New York, double majored in leadership and consulting and management information systems. Always actually thought I was going to go into management consulting. Um, did a lot of like internships at the Big Four and stuff like that. But ultimately, what really excited me was building things and trying to like create something meaningful for people. And that's how I actually ended up switching literally in my last year to pursuing a future in products. And after graduation, ended up working at MasterCard, where I was doing product design and product management. Then moved to a team within the company doing product strategy. And then last year from New York, I moved over to London when I ran into a lot of visa issues in the States. And that's when I actually was also brought on to the blockchain team at MasterCard to lead NFT products globally. So doing a little bit of product strategy, product development, getting to analyze the state of the NFT market. So that's kind of the professional journey, so to speak.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And Satvik, I mean, I have a lot of friends whose parents are from the army. I just want to ask you, how is that journey when you have to move out cities every 2 years, 3 years, and you said like you went to seven different school. How was it, and like what did it do to you as a human being that like you couldn't stay at like one place, leaving all your friends behind, leaving every possible thing behind and starting from scratch every few years?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, obviously when you're growing up, it's very easy to make friends. It's you usually plug in pretty easily into different spaces. And so I think for me, the move wasn't, it was never sad. Like when we were moving, it was always exciting. I was always excited to go see a new place, see a new culture, try new food, make tons of new friends. And I think it's what's allowed me to become very social in a way where not social as in like a socialite, but just social as in it's very easy for me to get acquainted to new places, make new friends, feel comfortable wherever I go. And it's also what really helped me when I moved last year to London because I literally didn't know anyone here, right? And now, if you look at like my tweets recently, I've made so many friends here so quickly, doing so many NFT events and stuff lately. So I think that experience has really made me very well rounded, and it's prepared me for, going out into this real big boy world where there's so many opportunities and there's always new people to meet. So I think it's made me able to actually have these conversations with people.
Hey, that's thank you for sharing that, Satvik. I just want to ask you, right? Like when you just so like we get to know a little bit human side of you, because like we all talk about blockchain, crypto, NFTs all the time, but like a little heart to heart. How was the experience in New York? Because you very used to moving in and around India, and like yeah, you're a army kid, so like there is a certain respect you get, or like you're already surrounded by army kids. But like in New York, no one is holding your hand, right? Like when you're out of a country, like the world is probably against you. You're no longer protected. How was that journey for you?
Yeah, I mean, I won't lie and say it was easy, because there were a bunch of challenges that I faced. Like being an immigrant, I still remember like it was my literally moving to college was the first ever time I'd set foot in the United States. And that first week, like my whole family, basically like my parents and my sister came to drop me off, and it was really nice. But at the same time, it was also super sad because I knew that like from this point on, I'm going to be alone as soon as they leave. And obviously, like, cried a whole bunch, like my first few weeks, missing home, missing all the comfort of home. Um, but at the same time, I think I was, again, like owing to the fact that I was very sociable, I was able to make a lot of friends that kind of helped me feel at home. I participated quite a bit in local like campus stuff. Like I joined a lot of organizations. I was doing a lot of strategy case competitions. And I think like because I actually went to an international school my last 2 years in India, I in a way felt kind of comfortable just like being in this international and diverse crowd. Um, and it wasn't that challenging. Actually, it sounds like I'm bragging, but I promise I'm not. But I won freshman of the year in business school my first year. At the end of my first year, and I was the first ever international student to win freshman of the year in college. And it was because I was doing tons of like different things on campus. I was constantly putting myself out there, and that's one piece of advice I can give to anyone is if you're in a new place, the best way to get comfortable is continue to put yourself out there. Um, because that's how not only do people recognize you and know you, but you also start to recognize and get a lot of these opportunities to succeed. And I think that's really like what helped me out. That was this turning point where I could have said, I was super homesick. I was literally like not going to parties. I wasn't talking to people. I was sitting in my room all day feeling sad. And then there was this turning point where I said, now that I'm here, I might as well make the most of it. and I just started to put myself out there a lot.
This podcast was possible because of our sponsors, Brave and Unstoppable Domains. More about them next. Crypto scams are like box of chocolates. You never know which one you're gonna get. Especially if you're using a crypto wallet, which is a browser extension. You run the risk of attacks like phishing scams, account spoofing, data leaks, and theft. The best way to avoid getting attacked is using Brave Wallet. Brave Wallet is the first secure crypto wallet built directly into a browser, so no extensions required. With Brave Wallet, you can buy, store, send, and swap assets. You can even manage your portfolio and NFTs all in one place. Whether you're new to crypto or a seasoned pro, it's time to switch to Brave Wallet. Download Brave at brave.com/web3WD and click the wallet icon to get started. You know what's the worst part about crypto? These long and complex wallet addresses. They can get so confusing. I know, you hate them too. What if I told you I replaced my long wallet address with dheerajshah.nft? Yeah, that's my name. All thanks to Unstoppable Domains. They're the #1 providers of NFT domains. With Unstoppable Domains, you don't have to worry about renewal fees because you get to keep your NFT domain forever. You can get an NFT domain as well, maybe a .crypto, .nft.x, or something else. Go to unstoppabledomains.com right now and get your NFTs for as low as $5. And Satvik, tell me something which I don't understand. Maybe I do understand, but maybe our listeners might have this question. Why the hell does MasterCard need a blockchain division? And whatever you can share, and what are you doing with them for NFTs?
Sure. Yeah, that's a great question. So, I mean, MasterCard's been in the blockchain and crypto space for a while. I think like almost 2 years now. And as a payments technology company, the work has been very focused on, core payments infrastructure. So, CBDCs, payment rails on crypto networks, working with different crypto exchanges to facilitate, say, with like your Coinbase card or other crypto cards, you have your instant settlements, like that's Mastercard technology. So there's a couple of those like traditional plays that we've been making for a while, but the way that I was brought onto the team to lead NFT products is probably a lot more interesting to the audience here. So, I was just a young analyst, a year and a half into Mastercard, but I've obviously been very passionate about Web3 and NFTs. And so when Visa bought a CryptoPunk and when some of these other companies that are in our industry started to become more active in NFTs, is when I was like, okay, I think it's time for us to really start to do some meaningful stuff in this space. And I literally just emailed our CEO and our head of blockchain products saying, here's some ideas that we should start thinking about. And over the next few months, I started having more and more of these conversations with our CEO, our chief people officer, our chief financial officer, our head of product, head of blockchain products. And, over time, I just started building this credibility for the knowledge and more than anything, the passion that I had for NFTs. And so one fine day, completely unexpected, our head of blockchain products sent me a message saying, "Hey, do you want to join the team to lead NFT products?" And that's literally how he messaged me on a Thursday, and next Tuesday I was joining the team and just kind of working on different ideas that we could think about when it comes to NFTs. And one of the recent public announcements was obviously our partnership with Coinbase NFT to simplify card payments, and just like lots of really interesting stuff. Obviously, I can't talk about it, but it's been really cool to be on Twitter and within like a part of this community where I'm seeing our DGen side and then bringing the best of the learnings to a corporate environment and seeing, well, what can we do from a perspective of a massive corporate company to integrate some of these learnings and some of the community feedback essentially into simplifying the overall experience for people.
Hey, that's awesome. I was struggling to hit the mic button for some reason. Anyway, that's awesome. Like, I think the key takeaway is here, like, if you don't ask, you won't get. And like I've seen you do this multiple times. Like, you just wake up and then, like, you send this email like, hey, I have this idea. Let's do this. You did it for something as well. I don't know if you want to talk about it, but like, you sent the an email to the CEO asking, like, why are we banning transactions in countries where, like, it would hurt real people who have nothing to do with war. So that was quite commendable as well. And like, I just like, we just go and get things, which is pretty cool. So tell me, you spent some time in the NFT space. You were researching, you were finding stuff for like MasterCard. Where did this idea of Circle originate?
Yeah, that's a great question. So what I'll say is I'll actually like maybe go back a bit to share about how I got into this space in the first place, because I think that might like bridge into Circle naturally. But also for like the email and going after opportunities, I literally owe it all to one random panel event that I attended in New York in like I think 2019. It was the Next Gen Summit, and one of the speakers there said something really interesting, and it was basically along the lines of, "To be noticed, you have to raise your hand," and that like one line really resonated with me, and completely, over the next few years, has changed how I do everything. I used to be very shy. I used to be very timid at times, but that one line made me just put myself out there a lot more. um, if you're at a Q&A with a crazy guest speaker who's always been your idol, like just raise your hand, ask them a question, and they'll remember you out of the hundreds of people there. And so when you go up to actually introduce yourself, they're more likely to remember you and want to have that conversation with you. And that's like something that I've just applied everywhere else. So if I don't care if it's the CEO, I don't care if it's just an intern, like if I want to have that conversation, I will always reach out, because worst case they can do is say no or ignore your message. The best case, you actually have that conversation with them, right? um, and if it wasn't for me putting myself out there, I would have never had all these opportunities that I've been able to have, because I don't come from a privileged background. I don't have a silver spoon. I'm just a very, very normal, average guy. And the only reason I've had some of these opportunities at my age is because I just never shied away from raising my hand. So I just wanted to put that out there. But talking about how I got into Web3, it actually goes back, strangely enough, to middle school. Like when I was in middle school, because I got into Web3 not because of money or anything. I got in really because of mental health and some of the experiences that I've had growing up with mental health. So back in middle school, it was a time when myself and a lot of my peers around me were going through mental health problems for the first time, but none of us really knew that these were mental health problems. For us, these were just like challenges that we were facing. But I just became someone that a lot of my peers around me felt comfortable talking to and reaching out to for help. And over time, I actually also started going online on platforms like Instagram to find people who were using the platform to anonymously reach out for help, and started having those conversations with them. So from middle school, by the time I got to college, I'd actually spoken to over 500 plus complete strangers on the internet, helping them with their mental health. And in college, I started my social venture called Runaway, which was a social venture that provided free mental health resources and education for young people. As a result of that, I got to work with organizations like Mental Health America, UNICEF, World Health Organization to create mental health policy for young people, to undertake adolescent mental health research for young people. I spoke at the UN a few times. I went to conferences all around the world where I would talk about mental health from an activist point of view and what people could do differently to take care of young people's mental health. And so this was kind of always going on, and this is what gave me my background in social impact and mental health. And so when the Clubhouse days started, I was on Clubhouse actually doing a room on mental health when I saw Blau hosting a room called, buying $30,000 worth of NFTs. And I'm like, what the hell are NFTs and why is this guy spending so much money on them? Because at that time in college, I was struggling to find the financial resources to continue some of the programs that we were undertaking at Runaway. And I wanted to raise money in a way where we could meaningfully bring that to these young people to continue providing free resources. So that room made me stay up all night researching about NFTs, and how I can get involved, learn quite a bit, started talking to some friends about it. And, so that's how I got into this space. Eventually, I saw Zeneca once tweet about how there's a lot of stress and mental health problems coming out of the NFT space. And that again made me realize that there is a lot of room for us to do something with mental health and possibly bridge the model that we were using at Runaway to provide these resources into this world of NFTs. And that's really what I pitched to Josh Ong. And that's how we ended up co-founding Happiness House, which is in partnership with the Sandbox, where we're building a completely free to use mental health clinic in the metaverse, which is going to have peer support volunteers, professional counseling, educational resources. And it's literally a condensed version of all the experiences that I've had since middle school up to this point is what's going into Happiness House. So that's how I got into Web3. And, I started doing social impact consulting for a lot of NFT projects because I knew these charities that they were donating to. And I said, well, you're just throwing money at these charities and sending your community a donation receipt. Why don't we do something more with these charities? Why don't we actually collaborate and grow ecosystems together? So that's the background I've had. And my cousin and I were both first generation immigrants. Ishan, who's our co-founder at Circle, and we've always been very entrepreneurial throughout college. We've always had really cool ideas. We actually worked on a semi-anonymous social media app together in college that we got some funding from the BlackRock incubator. We pitched at New York State Business Plan competition where we were finalists, et cetera, right? So we've always had that idea of mental health, social media, community. That's kind of been the core of everything that we've ever worked on. And so the deeper we got into the Web3 space over this past year is when we started to realize that the point of convergence of every single Web3 individual, every single Web3 community was Discord, right? But at the same time, a lot of the mental health problems that were coming out of this space, a lot of the bigger challenges like the hacks and spams and stuff that were coming out of this space were also happening in Discord. So while this tool was really powerful to bring people together, it was also causing significant amount of problems for everyone here. And that's really where that ideation started a few months ago. We just started exploring what are the alternatives in the market right now. So we did a really deep dive before we even started thinking of anything ourselves. We just started exploring the ecosystem. So when I post about Circle now, people tag me or people tag some of our quote unquote competitors saying these people are already doing it. Why? It's because we've done a lot of research on what they're doing and we know what we're doing is very different. Sorry, yeah, Dee, do you have something to say?
Yeah, I think before we get into Circle, I mean, I would just like to delve a little bit more about the mental health and talk a little bit about our space, because I think every I want to understand from you what do you think are the mental health issues happening in the Web3 space, and we are not even talking about it. We don't even know, right? Because I don't see anyone talk anything about it. People think it's very much okay to not sleep for the entire night, or sleep for 4 hours and do mint after mint or whatever, right? So what did you notice, right? What are these unhealthy behaviors which you have seen happen a lot in our space?
Yeah, fantastic question. Glad to spend some time on this. So I think it can all be condensed into one word, which is FOMO. I think that's really everything that's wrong with this space is people see that there is an opportunity to make unlimited money, build this generational wealth, and they just don't want to miss out for 1 second on an opportunity. And as a result, while they're trying to make money what they ultimately are sacrificing is their own well-being and mental health. So like you're saying, people don't sleep all night because hell, that could be a stealth mint happening that they'll miss out on. Or, people are putting up more money than they can afford to lose, and inadvertently when things go south, suddenly now, you've lost all this money, like you've lost all your savings, whatever it may be, which creates tons of stress, tons of pressure. And even when you have made money, there is still this aspect of, are we timing this right? Did we sell too early? Did we sell too late? And so I think there's this constant pressure and stress that everyone's put on themselves, um, which I understand. Like, I don't come from wealth. I'm still, I would say, not really rich compared to a lot of my peers who started with me in this space. And it's okay. I've just kind of realized that my position in this space is, I'm here, I'm early. Ultimately, we'll all win. I don't have to get these gains in a week because I'm here for the next few years at least, So I've I haven't looked at a floor price for NFTs I own in, I would say, like maybe 2 months now. I haven't looked at crypto charts in a month. Um, haven't looked at stock, like my stock portfolio, in a year, I think. And it's just made me like so much happier because I don't have this constant stress. I remember looking at trending charts on OpenSea or on Twitter, and as soon as I would see someone talk about an NFT, I'd want to go and like purchase it, and then it would tank the next day or whatever, and I'd just be super upset and super pissed off with myself for going into that FOMO. And but I see people do it all the time, and I think people need to realize that this space is going to be here for a long time, and we all are going to have opportunities to win. You don't have to be a trader just because someone else is a good trader. You don't have to be a creator just because someone else is a creator. There's many ways to monetize your skills. There's many ways to monetize your passions, and ultimately it's just about finding what works for you. I'm happy to accept that I'm not a good trader. I'm the worst trader you could possibly imagine, and it took me a while to realize that, but I'm okay with it now. I've realized that my role in this space is more to do with creating and building together with my friends. And when the time is right, I will make money out of it. But for now, I'm just enjoying the journey without worrying about the gains or anything of that sort. And I think more people need to just remind themselves of that generational wealth isn't built overnight. Some people, yeah, got lucky with the stuff that they minted. No one predicted the prices of things that exist now. No one has a crystal ball. We're all kind of just winging it. We're all just kind of luckily playing the game. And most likely the influencers that you look up to have alpha that you don't have. And so it's very natural for them to make 1,000x gain on something you make a 10x gain on after listening to them because they got that alpha a week earlier than you did. Um, I think more people just need to realize a bunch of these things. And it's why, some people might not like it. Some people might think I'm weird for it or whatever, but I've always been very open about my mental health in this space from day one. I've never shied away from saying, I'm struggling or I'm tired or I just need to rest or whatever. Like my mental health is completely shit because I think the more people like us start to have these conversations and open up about how we're really feeling, the more that newer people in this space who are in this constant state of euphoria see the concept of mental health normalized and, want to actually take care of themselves as well. Like when Zeneca, I remember like last year tweeted that, it's okay to take a break or it's okay to not be working on a weekend. Like that stuff really resonated with me because this was the first like big influencer saying that it's okay to look after your mental health and you don't have to keep chasing these constant pumps. And that's just something that I hope to continue to instill in a lot of my followers as well. And it's why um I get messages from like 100 projects a day wanting me to join their team, wanting me to promote their projects. But the only projects that I work with so far are ones that actually focus on mental health, not just in the sense of, saying we're donating to charity, but that actually just want to create an organic community that's not pumping and dumping, that's not always talking about the price of things. And that's why, I'm like very proud that I was on the Lost Boy team. I'm on the Headspaces team now because these are projects that genuinely care about mental health and are doing something really cool. And even if I'm not on the team and I see a project genuinely doing stuff with mental health, like Twisted Tweaks, and a few of these other projects, I'll promote them for free. Like, I don't want money to shout out good projects or good people doing good things in this space. Um, I just want that focus on the good projects to be bigger than all these pumps and dumps. And unfortunately, at my kind of where I am in this space today, I only have so much influence. Otherwise, I wish I could just tell everyone to stop following certain people, stop following the pumps and dumps, and just focus on that organic community, which is where a lot of that joy and happiness comes out of. Really is, I have 150 Discord servers I'm in right now. I have over 2,000 notifications. I just haven't gone into any of these servers. I only go to one every day, which is the GM House server, and I just have a really nice conversation with a few folks I love in there every night before I go to bed, and it's the most peaceful state of mind versus in discords where it's always like, oh, the floor is going down, why is the floor going down, devs do something. Like, that's not what this space was about at all, and it's sad that it's turned into this kind of thing by a few people's influence. So hopefully this inspires people to change the narrative and spend a little more time on self-care, cash out some of those gains, spend it in the physical world, treat yourself to a nice dinner, have a good drink with some friends, because that's really what this is about. You can't stay in a liquid JPEGs forever.
Hey, yeah. I mean, thank you. That was such a nice long speech, I guess. I think we can clip a lot of things from it, and I pretty much agree with you because, like, we have also decided this doing same. Like, I work 5 days a week. I'm taking Saturday, Sundays off. Sundays I play music. I meet all my friends who, like, we have a, what do you say, we have a small band. All of us play ukulele, and we do that. And Saturday I just meet like some random friends. So we try to not work on Saturdays and Sundays, and but like 5 days a week we hustle, we grind, we just, like, tear the shit down and try to guess the best speakers and best people who can, like, tell and teach you things which you can't find on YouTube, can't find on like anywhere else. Because, like, hey man, like, if you see even the Twitter space, Twitter and YouTube, people are just like, hey, coin go up, floor up, wag me, and yeah, not gonna make it, and that's it, right? Like, there's no substance to a lot of the conversations which we are having. There are some threads which are extremely interesting and extremely deep, but, like, you always want to hear a human behind, whoever is writing, whoever is listening. So this is why, we get to go deeper into someone's head, and understand who they are as a person. So this is why I love doing these space, and yeah, get people like Satvik and more people just to share what they've been thinking. And they like, I mean, you can't say all of these things in a tweet, right? You have character limits. So anyway, guys, if you're enjoying whatever is happening, if you like what Satvik is doing, if you want to learn more, if you like what we're doing, please follow me, follow Satvik, follow Ashu, and like, go retweet this tweet and tell, like, hey, you're enjoying this, you're enjoying listening to this, or something, right? Like, just do something. Satvik, tell us a little bit about, like, the Discord problem. Why do you hate Discord?
Sure, yeah. So okay, I'll be honest in saying that I don't hate Discord explicitly. I think it's been such a powerful
Oh,
tool,
it's a
and
meme.
without,
It's
yeah, yeah, of course, yeah. But like,
yeah.
without, it's like people hate on OpenSea, but without OpenSea existing, we would have never been in the NFT market that we're in today. Similarly, without Discord existing, the whole concept of NFT communities wouldn't be what it is today, because at the end of the day, it's allowed us to get together, to have amazing conversations, to make new friends. And I remember, I never used Discord before NFTs. Um, and I still remember like joining my first few communities, and there was just this really exciting sense of meeting people and making friends from all around the world, a lot of whom you didn't even know who they were. Like you just saw these weird cartoon JPEGs, and you just had to take people's word for who they were or where they came from. And there was something really exciting about it because every conversation was an opportunity to learn something new. Um, so that's, to Discord's merit, they've played a really important role in bringing us all together. But the problem that exists with Discord is that it was never meant for the Web3 native user. This we've kind of fit ourselves into the capabilities that Discord offers simply because we didn't have a better alternative. So I remember back in the day, there was no like wallet integration options, there was no verify your asset ownership. This stuff like Collabland and stuff came later on. And while it's amazing that it did come, it obviously creates tons of challenges because, as you're aware, it's created a lot of these phishing scams. It's created a lot of fake servers meant to specifically exploit the young people in this space. The spam prevention is pretty bad. And even communities itself, I feel like the way that they were structured becomes pretty hectic after a while. You have communities with like hundreds of different channels, multiple parallel conversations going on. If you're in the general chat, you'll be in a good conversation with three people, and then suddenly like 100 people start copy pasting the same message, and that conversation gets lost. And so there's a bunch of these challenges that we just started to see more and more of, and that's what really made us decide to explore the ecosystem. And as I was saying earlier, like Ishan and I have been builders throughout college, doing social media, doing mental health, doing community. So we understood this narrative, we understood this space pretty well. Um, I'm a UI UX designer, product developer myself. So I just kind of took to the sketchbook and thought, well, if a Web3 native wants to use this platform, what are some things that we would need? What would the user journey look like? And we just got to work. And so we looked at all these other platforms, both in Web3 and Web2. We looked at people like MetaLink Labs. We looked at Islands XYZ. We looked at GM .xyz. In Web2, we looked at Slack. We looked at Geneva. So many of these options, right? And we try to see what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong, what could we do differently. And ultimately, we figured that despite all these different players in the social community space, there is still an opportunity for us that no one seems to be going after right now. And so that's when we really started building. I put these designs together, turned them into high fidelity versions. Really, really interesting and unique. I wish I could share this with you, but it is very, it's our secret sauce at the moment. But really, just like focusing on that Web3 native journey. And we're not rich. We don't have tons of financial gain, so we had to go and fundraise so we could build this product. So we started reaching out via Twitter. Yeah, go ahead.
So Satvik, thank you for sharing that. And as you're talking about fundraising, I've seen bunch of your tweets talking about the process of fundraising. So how has that been? Has it been easy? Has it been hard? What has been the journey? Can you walk us through that? Because there are a lot of people here who are thinking like, hey, I want to start a project. And is it easy? Is it hard? How was your journey?
Yeah, sure. As you know from my tweets, it's been awful. Uh, but I'll kind of start with where we started. So we put together our deck, we put together our designs. So we are pre-product, right? And that's what we needed this funding for. Is yes, we could bring on a few people to work for us for free, but that's really not what I want to do because I want people to participate in this meaningfully. I want people to be able to dedicate all their time into this. And I just feel like that whole unpaid labor is very Web2, and Web3 values means that people get rewarded for participating and contributing to something, right? So we went out to fundraise. I come from a background where I don't know any VCs or investors personally, nor does Ishan. We're both immigrants who have a lot of issues even registering a company, right? Like we can't register in the US or the UK right now on our visa statuses. So, but we just started reaching out. I tweeted because I didn't know anyone. So I just tweeted saying any VCs that are looking to Web3 and communities and stuff, get in touch. I'd love to talk to you about what we're building. And thanks to a few friends like LDF and a few others, a bunch of angels and VCs actually reached out. We started having conversations. I showed them the designs. We had tons of pitches. I think overall in 2 months, we ended up talking to about 30 plus investors from around the world, mostly in the US and Europe. And we had some really meaningful conversations with them. I've posted screenshots where these investors have literally told us that this is the most exciting product they've ever seen. This is the best designed product they've seen. They understand the user journey really well. They understand the use case. Like they got it, like all these investors are people who are Web3 people. They understand Discord. They've used Discord. They hate Discord. So that's how every pitch would start, with a laugh about how we all have this mutual dislike for Discord. And so people got it. But at the same time, because we are two founders who haven't done traditional investment before, they just didn't have that trust, or they just didn't know us well enough to be able to bet on us, which I understand their perspective as well. But if we don't find the first person to bet on us, how do we ever get started? you know and that was like one thing that we always had, because we had these conversations where we would leave every conversation feeling really excited, feeling like, okay, these guys got it, like they want to be part of this, because that's what the excitement and that's what the feedback would be. We've never once received bad feedback for the product that we were making. We've never received bad feedback for our idea. No one ever said you're going after a saturated market. No one ever said your product sucks or your UI UX sucks. Never. It's always been really positive on those fronts. The only thing that they didn't particularly like was the fact that, one, we're not either based in the US or in the region they wanted us to be. So like even just investing in us and setting up an entity would be difficult for them. Or it was usually around, you're not doing a token drop to start with, so it makes it difficult for us to invest because we're looking at token deals. Or it was just the fact that we were quite early, so we spoke into really big names as well, who just said you're a bit too early for us, and once you have your MVP or whatever, and once you have a few communities on board, hit us up and we'd love to get in the next round. But the problem is we needed the money for just getting the MVP ready, right? So we had this constant struggle. It was a lot of emotional distress, a lot of mental health problems for both Ishan and I over these past 2 months. And finally, I started to see more and more tweets on Circle's Twitter account from some of our community members who was like, how do we invest, or when NFTs, or when whitelist. And initially it was like funny to us because we were doing the traditional fundraising, but the more we started to see the community's reaction compared to, juxtaposed to um, the VC's feedback that we were getting, we were like, maybe this is a possibility. And we started to treat it more and more as a possibility that we could do. Um, and Ishan, got to work on creating different financial models. We played around a lot with how we would structure the NFT drop, what the pricing would be, what we would need to match our goal, how would we reward our community members for believing in us and supporting us, what are the utilities. And finally, I think we're now in a place where we're super excited because we have most of the pieces outlined. We wanted to keep it very accessible. There's projects charging anywhere from zero point 0.2 to 3 Ethereum for Pixel One. But we didn't want to charge more than we would pay ourselves, for getting into something like this. We wanted to make sure that the Satvik and Ishan that started in this space 1 year ago would be able to afford something like this. And so we decided to price it at 0.05, so anyone can get as many as they want. Um, we wanted to keep it open edition to avoid this whole aspect of gas wars and stuff that prices out the little guy. And despite that, we wanted to make sure that people who support us, people who are rooting for us from the start, are still incentivized despite it being an open edition. So we've actually stacked our utilities upside down, wherein the first X number of people who get into mints have a different set of utilities from the next X number of people. And what it does is it allows people who really believe in us and have wanted to support us from the start, who I know are going to hit mint as soon as it opens, get the most value. And this is not to say that, the last group that mints is not going to get value. We've made sure that when we get rewarded and when we win in this space, which we will, everyone who believed in us wins with us. It's just an interesting way where we did want to reward some of our earliest users and some of our earliest followers, which is, the circle list, which we're still adding to. So those people get that first minting experience and get, the most benefits from being part of it and being our early supporters. I mean, even before Circle came to life and all the ideas were shared, we've had people who followed us and have been with post notifications on rooting for us from like literally day one when we had less than 50 followers to now, crossing 8,000 today. And so we want to make sure that those people get rewarded because I think that is truly the essence of Web3. But I will say, just in terms of the work, and credit to Ishan for this, the work he's done on planning out the utilities, we have like a really tightly spaced 2-page document full of utilities and ideas for how we can reward our community. We're just really excited, man. I think it's been such a challenging journey for us to get to this point, but the only reason we're in a really good mental health state from a circle perspective is because we have this community that's rooting for us, and I think it's because people just want to support builders, and people want to support, doing stuff meaningfully. I'm someone who's always put 1,000% of my reputation behind anything I take on, and I think I've been able to build some level of trust, I hope, with the community, wherein they know that I'm not someone who's going to disappear after minting out. I'm going to be here. This is going to become my focus. It's, as Beanie said, but without the bad intentions, this is becoming my life's mission. And I just hope to do right by all the community members who are rooting for us. And I mean, I know I will because I'm super passionate about bringing this to life.
What's up? Thank you for sharing that. I keep missing the mic button. I don't know why. So I'm like, yeah, I'm talking and like no one is actually listening. Guys, we'll take questions in sometime. I'll just ask Satvik few more things. Then like I see your requests. I see it. I'm not denying. I will take questions really soon. Satvik, you are building a very interesting product, and like yeah, we saw the issues with what happened with VCs, but that didn't stop you, right? Like you're going in a very different route. You're going for a public mint, and again, right? Like you're not capping it. That means like there will be no gas war. There will like anyone who wants to support can support. I think that's open mint. I meant that's pretty cool. And but like you have this something called inner circle, or like was it circle list? No, yeah, it's inner.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. What is that? Can you tell like people who like want to support you, what is the inner list? How does one get it, and what are the benefits?
Sure. Yeah. So there's, multiple essentially like pre-sale lists. So instead of saying like whitelist, which has historically racist connotations, some may agree, disagree, whatever, we wanted to create different tiers of pre-sale slots. So we have the circle list, which is only for our kind of followers, and we've been sending these messages you're in to people since we started, our social media. And it's basically people who were actively engaging with our content, who were always, some of the first people to respond or had even like the funniest responses because it was me like giving out those you're in messages. And so anyone who basically like captivated my attention without just saying, oh, like, send me a message. Like, I want people to meaningfully engage. I'm not one of those people who incentivize people to engage for the sake of it. So, people who were engaging meaningfully with us, people who were participating in questions we were putting out or stuff we were putting out on our Twitter, they just got those urine messages. And that basically means that, they're on the circle list, which is the first pre sale group that will open. So, they'll have the first access to minting the NFTs, and that, like I was saying, being the earliest means a set of special privileges and special advantages. And Circle List is still open. We're going to be continuing to add people right up till mint, and because we want to make sure everyone who's supporting us, everyone who's rooting for us, and actively engaging with us gets their reward. So that's the Circle List. After the Circle List, we're going to open something called the Founders List, which is for projects that I've personally been involved in or projects that I personally resonate with. So the Founders List, one thing we announced yesterday was every single person who owns a piece from Relief, which is the charity drop that we did from Ukraine. We took a wallet snapshot the other night, and everyone's automatically on the Founders List. So anyone who owned a piece from Relief until last night is now eligible to mint in the Founders List, plus a few other communities and projects that I really love or have been a part of, that I wanted to also support through this will be on the Founders List. And then we have the Circle and Friends List, which is actually an incredible group of different projects from all around the NFT community. Everything from really small indie projects created by small artists. Maybe they have like 10 to 50 Discord members, all the way to really massive communities of 25, 30,000, 40,000 members, are going to be given a set allocation anywhere from like 5 spots to 250 spots that they can distribute to their community members to be on the Circle and Friends list. And we've had tons. I mean, we started with an initial list of 70 projects. I think we have already 30 or so that have accepted an invite to be part of Circle and Friends, and we're working our way through the rest. And it's, I mean, you'll see the names, when we announce the final list, but it's really incredible to see just how much people are excited to support a community built product. And I think that's really the best part. And for Circle and Friends as well, we're providing tons of value to the communities. We don't just want to take their community members and make them buy our stuff. We want to actually make sure we're providing a lot of value in return. So we're actually going to be setting up like a private Telegram group with all the project founders to facilitate collaboration. And so, the big guys can help the small ones out to learn, to build things. We are facilitating in the future like Twitter spaces to spotlight some of these Circle and Friends projects. We'll be doing special perks and rewards for some of the community members of Circle and Friends, plus a lot of other things that we're also planning, because we are, friends support each other. It's not a one-way street. And so with Circle and Friends, we want to make sure that while these projects are supporting us at the start, before we even fully exist yet, as we continue to grow, we are the ones who provide them with a lot of value for just believing in us and giving us a platform to share.
Awesome.
And then the public sale, yeah. after
Awesome,
that,
awesome.
yeah.
That's pretty cool, Satvik. I'll just like we would. I don't know if you know, but like I run this project called Cool Club, which is like just an experimental project we do, and like the whole idea is to promote newer artists and do drops with different artists every month, and yeah, I mean it's basically just to have fun and do experiments with NFTs. If like we could work out something for
We'll
like
talk offline. I'll put you on the founders list. I'll put your community
awesome.
on the founders list.
Perfect. Sounds good. All right, Satvik, thank you for sharing that. We're like really excited, like what you're doing. I think I'll take some questions from like people who have requested, and we'll go. Yep. I think Joseph Haider.eth can go first. They've been here for a really long time, and then we can go with Bong.
Hey, how's everyone doing? Great to be here and to get this chance to, ask questions and just listen to what Circle is building. I guess my question would be, people use Discord primarily to sort of segment the cohorts within NFT projects, right? So you can understand who your early supporters are, who your holders are, which NFTs they're holding across different collections. Do you see the Circle have any ideas on how they can like disrupt this, or maybe streamline this whole process to be a little more Web3?
Yeah, great question. So we're really building like Web3 native from the start, which means removing all the reliance on third-party services to provide authentication and to provide verification. So the Circle user journey is the way you log in is actually with your wallet, and we automatically authenticate all the communities that you're part of through the NFTs you own and give you a drop down list of projects whose communities you want to join right at sign in. And you're basically a verified NFT holder. And if you don't hold the NFT but still want to participate, you can still do that. But by verifying your NFT, you're automatically getting into some of those token gated conversations. Plus, our server management itself is very different to actually create rooms and facilitate, actual meaningful conversations versus just spam in a general chat. So there'll be opportunities to actually create breakout rooms similar to Discord threads, but with a few more, exciting things that you could do in those breakout rooms, where smaller groups can get together within communities to chat as much as they want. We're gonna have some spam prevention stuff in place. So yeah, I mean, we really like been thinking about making this a very native user experience for everyone involved, and that really I think was just starting out itself with understanding and knowing what communities you're part of, what communities mean most to you. We have a really innovative approach to managing your announcements so you're not constantly bombarded with notifications from all over the place. And we've really like worked with a few communities who are going to be our pilot partners. We work with a lot of community members in our back channels to get feedback at every iteration of product we've created. So there's a lot of like months of thought and design that's gone into this whole process.
Awesome. Yeah, really exciting stuff. Can't wait to see and hear more. Are all these going to be like hosted in a decentralized fashion? Sort of like Arweave or IPFS?
Yeah, so it is to start. We are going to be web desktop platform. And we are actually looking at decentralized cloud storage to start. So we've actually already had conversations with a few different platforms to see which one would be ideal for us. But that is our intention if they can manage the demand, because we have seen RV was being pretty busy and pretty slow recently. So we just want to make sure that scalability is something that's feasible.
Satvik, if you want a connection to like an IPFS / Filecoin, I'm happy to connect you with those guys. Just letting you know if that.
That'll be awesome.
Yep. Awesome. So thank you for asking your question, Yusuf. Bong, what's up? What's your question?
First, I want to say, I'm just so happy to finally, to talk to you and hear you just speak about the project. I've been dying since day one, to hear more about it and excited for it. I know, like, I first got involved in this space about a year ago, and you watch people get rugged, not every day, but you hear about Discords getting hacked and all these things happen. And when you really look at Discord, you love it because it does provide you with the space. And I used it before even NFTs, but they were hit with a huge tidal wave of new users. And there were a couple ways of looking at it as far as how they were going to handle it. Expand quickly and have all these gaps, which I really don't think they did. They kind of expected it to die down, and I think the NFT space is here to stay. I think we all do. So I wanted to ask, after gushing over you a little bit more, because I do absolutely love it, and every kernel you bring and all the work you put in doesn't go unnoticed. I promise you that. So I'm really excited for what you just said as far as like the rooms and break-offs. It makes me think that one day it'll be, VR. It'll feel just kind of like going to work. It'll be an office or a clubhouse. And I think that's kind of amazing that you can take a decentralized form of technology and make it a home in a way. So that's pretty great. But I wanted to ask, how do you intend to deal with such a large user base and those security holes, those server blackouts or brownouts and whatnot?
Yeah, first of all, I mean, thank you so much for, your kind words, all the support. It really does mean so much to me to, see people being genuinely excited about something that we've been working on for so long. So I really do appreciate that support, and also love the idea that you said about, VR chat rooms and things like that, because just last night I was having a conversation with someone about um, thinking about down the line integrating digital avatars into Circle and how that could look like. So that's, I guess, alpha, but definitely something that we would be actively thinking about. And in terms of managing growth, I think we don't expect everyone to move over to Circle from Discord overnight. So it's going to be an ongoing process where we continue to bring people scale alongside. And we are going to, Circle and Friends, all the communities in there are going to be the first ones to get onboarded to use Circle and test it out and help us grow. So the hope is that we continue to scale alongside our user demand and are able to keep up. But server outages and things like that are sometimes unmitigated. So I'm not going to say it'll never happen, because there is a possibility we grow too quickly. It could, but our intention is that we continue to grow with the pace that we can keep up. In terms of preventing scams and spams and things, we have actually thought very diligently about how we mitigate a few of those things. And the best way that we're doing this, I think, in the first place, is we're getting rid of all third-party integrations. Like there's no Collabland, there's no Verify bot, where a lot of these phishing scams and malicious things take place, giving out fake permissions and things like that. So that gets avoided because we're integrating a wallet connect for your sign-in itself, so you don't have that need to essentially rely on those services. Plus, we are actively exploring how we could even integrate an NFT trader mechanism within the platform, so you don't have to rely on third-party NFT trading services as well. We already announced a partnership with POAP, where you don't have to go to POAP to claim POAP for events attended in Circle. It automatically gets added to your wallet just by being a participant, because we do have your wallet connected. So we are constantly thinking of ways where we can mitigate people having to leave the platform, people having to click on third-party links, and how we can sort of bridge everything that a Web3 native user needs all within this one place that creates a very meaningful experience, and at the same time kind of increases stickiness on our platform, because we want to make sure that we are providing value, because ultimately that's the only way that people will leave a place like Discord where they're so established and move to a new platform. So I think that intentional design is very important for us.
Awesome. That's pretty awesome to hear, and thank you so much. It brings up one thing real quick I wanted to ask about. I kept getting burnt out after 200 servers, and then purging those and adding 200 more. So I wanted to ask if there's any way you've thought about battling the grind, the hardcore degen grind, where communities want a certain level of activity, but the only way they can measure it is through chat or through just um, unproductive behavior within the community. Can you with the wallet connectivity, do you think there'll be a way to track a higher level of engagement?
Yeah, that's such a fantastic question. Yes. So, when we started our Circle social media, I don't think any project had done this, but on our Twitter account, I'd actually created a custom CRM dashboard through which we were tracking all our followers and their activity on our posts. So we were actually measuring engagement. We were looking at how people engage, the types of comments they were making, the keywords they were using, and it allowed us to almost understand user personas and how to measure, engagement from certain people. So we're hoping to actually have some of these CRM tools integrated into Circle. Not really for the community members, but more for community managers, because, and this is Ishan's words, not mine, but communities today are essentially multi-million, some even billion-dollar businesses, but they have no ingrained analytics to actually see how their community engages. And so I think that's something that's kind of important to us, is allowing these community managers to get in-depth insights on their communities and how they're interacting with each other. So yeah, that's something that's definitely in the works, to track engagement and things like that, because I hate like the whitelist engagement farming meta right now. So that's one. And then to answer your question about avoiding burnout and things like that, you actually on Circle never have to enter a server to get updated on what they're up to. So that's what I was saying earlier. We've devised a really interesting and exciting way to get all the announcements, project updates, AMAs, roadmaps, et cetera, all delivered to you without you having to step foot into any server, with custom filtering, custom settings that you can do and all of that. And that's something that was probably like our most prized possession slash secret sauce when we were pitching. And that's probably what even got like these investors that we were having conversations with most excited, was this ability to not have to go into servers to get updates on everything going on in the projects you're invested in.
That's amazing to hear. Yeah, after the burnout, I decided to develop my first ever project, and I'm kind of in the very, very beginning stages. But I think that's really kind of an unsung hero thing. Whereas, there wouldn't be a community without people involved and investing in it. But as much as that's true, there wouldn't be anything without people working behind the scenes, and you need to provide those people with as much access to their community as you can give them, because that's the only way the opposite side's going to grow. They have to grow together. You can't rely on one of them.
Yep.
Either way.
Yep. Hey, Bongabite, I'm sorry. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, in due of time, I will have to cut you off. But great.
No, thank you for all the time.
And great journey. I'm so glad you're here, and you're still building. So Congo to you, guys. Let's stick with one question at a time. If Satvik has more time, we're happy to take more questions. Prabjot, I will let you go next. Let's do one questions. And guys, if you're enjoying the spaces, you know what to do. Retweet, tag me, tag Satvik. Let us know that you're enjoying the space, so other people know that we're doing something awesome. Prabjot, go for it.
Hey, hi, thank you so much, Dheeraj, for this space and for this opportunity to speak, and thank you so much, Satvik, for sharing what you shared, because it's been an eye-opener. I've been following you and the Circle Twitter page since a while, and now that I know the backdrop, the journey that you have gone through to come, it all makes so much sense, and I'm really in awe. Now, I'm sure, since I follow both of you, both the accounts, I've actually turned on notifications for your account and the other one. Sorry if that sounds sneaky, but I really want to stay up to date. Whenever you tweet something or Circle tweet something, that's how I joined this space. Now, I know I'm going to keep getting information from these spaces, so I know there's not going to be a dearth of information. What I want to ask you on a very personal human level is something that bothers me since I've joined the NFT space. I'm generally very busy with work, and I'm unable to filter information with respect to the NFT space in a way that, since I'm busy at work, I have constant FOMO about the things that I might be missing. So all the time that I have free, maybe a day or two or a few hours a day, I'm unable to process all the information I receive online, because it's too much to handle in such a short notice. So just wanted to ask you, since you're into NFT since a long while and doing so many things at the same time, how is it that you filter information and you choose which one to keep, which one to discard, and how do you move forward with it? Are there some tips that you could share with me? Thank you.
That's a great question, and thank you for all your support. Really do appreciate it. I will say, don't have post notifications on for me because I shit post and make stupid comments all the time. Circle, definitely lots of helpful stuff coming up.
No, it's sweet.
I would
Come
tell
on.
people, avoid the avoid the notifications from me. But yeah, to answer your question, I think it's such a good question, because there are really so many different avenues that you can get information from. Some people have their private alpha Discord channels. Some people have Twitter communities that they're part of. Some people just have like a small group of friends that will tell them, or whatever it may be. For me, I think with all the stuff that's going on, the best place for me where I usually get up to date on things going on, trends happening, all the latest memes, is actually just Twitter. As I'm sure you've seen, following me, but I'm very active on here. So
Mm-hmm.
anytime I have a moment, like I'm usually on Twitter, just scrolling, seeing what everyone is up to. And I think the best thing I can advise for curating your experience so you're only getting the right information and things is unfollow people. Like it sounds like such a taboo thing, but ultimately it's your social experience. Like it doesn't matter what anyone thinks. Ultimately, you have to curate the best social experience for yourself. um, I've gotten shit before because people think I don't follow too many people for a ratio or anything. I don't care about my ratio. I just want to be able to actually engage with the people that I care about and see posts from people that I'm constantly learning from. And so if I see that someone that I follow is not really adding too much value to my personal life or my learning or whatever, I'll unfollow them. And I've never been afraid to do it because ultimately, like you said, we only have that much time to be on these spaces. And would I rather see someone tweet like 100 giveaway posts, or would I see one meaningful thread from like 6529 about something really interesting happening in the space? And so just keep curating your feed, keep following the right people, unfollowing the others, turning on post notifications for the non-shit posters like myself is a good thing. I have post notifications on for Loopify, Zeneca, 6529, a few of these guys who've provided a lot of value for me. And that's really it. You also just like tell yourself that you're never going to know everything. Like you are never going to be up to date with everything going on. And that goes back to what I was saying earlier, is that constant FOMO will always be there until you tell yourself that it doesn't matter. Like it's okay if you miss out on like 5 minutes as long as you catch one other. And that's really it.
Wow, thank you, Satvik. I've been taking notes, while you were talking, and I can actually draw a parallel. Why? Because when my room is in a state of disorder, I can't find the things that I need to find. But the moment I start cleaning and decluttering it, I actually start, I have access to all the things that are important and I need them right away. So it's really insightful and profound what you shared. I would actually do that, curate my Twitter experience and create lists, NFT lists, and all that, so that I can prioritize what I should consume and what I shouldn't. So thank you for that answer, Satvik. I appreciate that.
Yep, awesome. Thank you for the question, Prabjot.
Hmm.
Ashu, we've had a lot of questions on the tweet we did. Like, hey guys, ask the question. Can you ask one of the uh, like top question from there? And before we move on to all our guys who are waiting here.
Yeah, sure. Hey Satvik, thanks for joining in today. So, like we tweeted like to ask questions like, oh, what do you want to ask you today? So the top two questions, like there were like first was what inspired like the name Circle and the design work and the theme and the aesthetics, and the second one, how do you ensure that Circle will be like secure and which includes hacks and spams and like Discord. It's a very big problem with Discord. So how are you dealing this with Circle here?
Yeah. Sure. So let's start with why the name Circle, right? So when we started thinking about this product for communities, Circle was the first thing that came to mind. um and just like that's how my parents actually always, they don't say their group of friends, they say like our circle. And so that's just been like a really recurring theme when it comes to communities, friends. And so circle was the obvious choice, but then the domain wasn't available, so we can get circle.com, .io, .xyz. None of those were available. So then we went around, started thinking of ideas, and I'm sure every founder here has had the same problem of trying to find a name, and then you get a good name, but the domain is taken. So we had this like continuous problem where we thought of like, okay, what is the Greek god of friendship, or what is like the Hindi word for friendship, and like went through all these different motions, thought of like 25, 30 different names, but none of them really like
Yeah.
resonated as
Im-
much as, yeah.
Imagine Circle would have been called Dosti.
So like Dost was actually something we were like experimenting or thinking about, along with like lots of other names as well, right? So Dost, for anyone who doesn't know, is friend in Hindi. And so we had this like constant conversation between Ishan and I, and eventually, we just said, like nothing is doing it for us quite like Circle. So then we said, well, we've seen some products use join product, so why don't we just do join Circle XYZ, and when we have the funds, we can secure Circle XYZ and get all that done. So we've actually found the person who owns Circle XYZ Twitter and the domain, and we have a deal in place. So hopefully once the sale and everything happens, we'll be able to get all the right domains, but for now it's join Circle XYZ. It is because nothing really cut it for us the same way. And then apart from that, in terms of the design and the branding, like as I was saying, I do product design. At the same time, I also do like art, and I love creating and stuff. So I'm a very visual person, and I really care maybe a little too much at times about aesthetics. And that was also like a feedback we got from all the investors, was that your aesthetics and the design and everything is on point. And I wanted to do something where, while it had this, modern elements of dark mode and all of this stuff, I also wanted it to still be like this really friendly and warm color scheme. So having those like reds and oranges and stuff is very important. Um, and that's really like how those design choices came to be. So it wasn't really like something that we spend too much time thinking about the color scheme and stuff. But once we saw it, I made a few different palettes, and this one just really stuck out and resonated. So that's how we ended up choosing that. And then for your third question about, preventing scams and spam, so that's what I was talking about earlier. We just have a Web3 native integration, and so we just mitigate all these malicious links that potentially come up, because there is no collab land on Circle. There is just a Circle login. And so a lot of those things get mitigated, and we are constantly thinking about ways where we can get rid of all these other links, like the traders, NFT traders, and all of those things as well, just so we can, just make a meaningful experience within the platform itself, and people don't have to leave. And I know NFT Trader doesn't do links anymore, but you still have like a platform to use. We want to make sure that people can do everything within Circle itself.
All right, thank you. Thank you for sharing. That's Satvik. I think is where's that guy? He's been requesting for a really James. Go for it, buddy. I know you've been getting rugged, but this is your chance. Go for it, James. Hey, James, go for it. भाऊ काय करू? James, can you hear us? Can you unmute yourself?
Oh yeah,
Ask your
I can hear you. Sorry, I just hope I'm not too noisy because I'm a delivery.
No, go for it. Go for it. Go for the question.
First of all, I just want to say to Satvik, love you, man. Been following for a while. I actually 100% am behind you and believe you, because the way I discovered you was actually looking for an NFT on mental health, because I had gotten shafted so many times because of this whole Discord mentality and whitelist and everything. And that's how I discovered you. And I've been following the Join Circle from day one. Really sad I still haven't gotten my DM yet, but I'm still hoping forward and looking forward to it. Unfortunately, the lads have already asked all the good questions which I already had in plan, because my major question was, what makes you guys so different from everyone else? And you've already answered it. And the extra questions which I was worried about, with like all the alpha groups coming in claiming whitelist spots, all the scammers, you've also answered that. So all I just want to say again is big ups, man. Keep doing it. And for people like me who don't have a bunch of money, and I'm literally doing pizza job to actually make my ends meet and hoping to do something in the NFT world, please keep doing the good work for us. And remember the little guys like us,
Thank you so much for coming up. And dude, like I will always, and I always say this, like I will always continue to put up for the little guys, because like I mean I'm a little guy myself, I'm living off of one advisory project that I've done because I've made no money in NFTs, and I think I want to show people that it's possible to start with nothing in this space. And that's what I was saying. I don't know if you were here like when we started, but I was saying that
Yeah, it was.
there are so many ways to monetize your talents and your passion in this space. You just have to find, what you're good at delivering versus what someone is looking for at that moment, and you can make it. You don't have to be really good at flipping JPEGs. There's ways to participate, and yeah, but thank you so much, and really appreciate your support.
All right, thank you very much, and still looking forward to the DM from the joint circle. Okay,
You'll get it for sure. Just when I see your comment on our next circle post, you'll get the DM, I assure you.
Awesome. Awesome. Shoot your shot, James. Thank you.
all right, thanks, man.
Yeah, I see, Mint. You've been here since even before we started, right? Like, so I'm happy. You can go for the question. If yeah.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm trying to do this while also working, so if I miss this, let me know. Well, for starters, I want to say thank you for putting this together, and I think your vision for this space, I think, is really appreciated by everybody. I think there is a lot of things that need to change, but you can't really blame this. We're so early on this, and I think these innovations are going to make what continues to make Web3 great. That being said, I love the product. I want to know as somebody that's going to buy the NFT, and how are we going to, the people that invest are going to get information of where this is coming, where it's going. Do we get sneak peeks? Are we going to get maybe quarterly updates of where the project is at and the vision moving forward? I think this is for sure going to be a massive company and something that people are going to be really interested in, to be in the early stages of the seed phrase. I would love to get quarterly updates, and I think the rest of the people would too.
Yeah, no, thank you for your support again, and it's a great question. So I've always been a big believer in just building in public and being very transparent about all these processes, and I'm sure you've seen some of that, as we've been iterating on my personal Twitter, on the Circle Twitter. So absolutely, I mean, everyone who mints and even otherwise, all the updates will be on our Twitter. That's going to be the only official channel of communication between us and our audience, and not just quarterly, but we're probably going to do weekly status updates, monthly spaces to catch people up on everything that's been going on. We'll keep giving you sneak peeks as they get built and developed, because we want to make sure people see what they're putting their money towards supporting, and they have that constant sense of just being excited that you're the people who are making this possible for all of us, and that comes with certain level of reward, certain level of perks that we'll be extending to all the people who are minting, like I was saying earlier. Plus, I will say that we actually didn't touch on this at all today, which was a bit surprising, but the NFT is essentially going to be, we have a subscription category called GM, and while for users in the future it's going to be a paid subscription like it is on Discord, anyone who buys our NFT is essentially getting it free for life, or for 0.05 ETH for life. So you never have to pay for a subscription on Circle. This is your subscription for life. So as soon as you connect your wallet and we see you on that NFT, you're automatically a premium subscriber to the platform and never have to worry about monthly or annual payments, unlike all the other users who will be joining us, down a year or two from now when this platform is available for everyone else. And that also incentivizes you as an NFT owner, because there is this interesting game theory that Ishan and I wanted to build into this, and I'll probably write a thread about it at some point, but there is going to be a point where it's cheaper to buy an NFT on secondary to get lifelong subscription versus paying for an annual subscription via fiat or crypto down the line. And so I think it's going to make for some really interesting secondary price action dynamics as well, which I'm interested to see how that plays out, especially because, our mint is going to be open edition. So realistically, people could mint as many as they want. So I'm really excited about that.
Awesome. Thank you for that question.
Yo, check. Cool if I ask a question? We got some time?
Yeah, Murph, go for it.
Hey, Satvik. Man, it's been a while since we last spoke. First, want to say congrats on the check mark. Like I know people sometimes put a little bit too much weight on these like simpler first things, but I think it's a really important thing for you specifically, because you're doing so much in the space, and I can just imagine there's going to be so many more of like you impersonators going on. So just seeing like the check mark for me at least is like a sign of safety. I'm just like, okay, this is the real one. I'm not going to get scammed today.
Thank you, brother.
Nice. Yeah. Oh, guys. Yeah. I forgot to wish him. Congrats on the check mark. It looks good.
It's not that big a deal, please, guys.
Yeah, it looks good on you. That's it.
For my own lessening of anxiety, it's good for me. So yeah, my question was sorry.
You have a question?
Yep. Since we're talking about like building communities and mental health, and like I know, that's kind of at the core of everything you do, Satvik. Like I'm really really stoked that like you're the one kind of like charging on with Circle, just because I know when someone builds something, kind of like all parts of them kind of soak into whatever the product is. But in making all those things, because you're involved in so many things like Circle and Relief and Lost Boy and stuff, like what is your personal method to kind of compartmentalize but also balance everything in a holistic way in your head, like specifically from the standpoint of like you have different things on the go? How do you keep things from getting crisscrossed, and in that balancing, how do you like save yourself also?
Yeah, that's a fascinating question. Actually, this might be weird to some, but I actually like when they crisscross. Like, I love, when I was working on Lost Boy and then seeing Headspaces pop up, and I was like, cool, like now I can get both of these projects to work together, and then I'll see a third mental health project, and I'm like, let me introduce you to these two guys. So I love like that crisscrossing of worlds. Even seeing with Circle now adding all the relief to the Circle like founders list. So I think that's what actually keeps me able to focus, is just finding new avenues where the stuff I'm working on can intermingle and work together and converge well together. So that's one thing. And then in general, I mean, I just try to make sure that I'm giving enough time and attention to all the different stuff I'm working on. So I'll make a schedule. I have usually a really strict calendar, where I still add a lot of free time to my day as well. So sometimes, spontaneously, if I just want to meet friends or if I want to hop on a call with someone, I make sure. I remember in college, I used to have a calendar where I would literally add like my meal times to my Google Calendar, and it was very toxic, very bad for my mental health. And so now when I make my calendar, I make sure to give myself enough breathing time. Like last night, I had 2 calls. I just canceled them, and I played COD with some of my friends from college. After like 6 months of not having touched my console, I was just playing Call of Duty for like 2 hours, and it was the most fun I've had in a long time. And so I think like just being able to take those breathers between work just keeps me going, because ultimately I know that what I'm doing is gonna pay off one day, and um, I'll have created something meaningful for a lot of people who do look up to me to make these things happen. And it makes me happy. It's not, for me, building things for other people or helping out other people is not stressful for me. It genuinely like makes me happy and gets me excited to do things. And I hope to always continue to have that emotion when it comes to the projects I'm advising on or the stuff I'm building, because ultimately this is a lot more for everyone else who's going to benefit from this than it is for me at the end of the day. At least that's how I view it, which might not be a traditional founder's view, but and I'm sure like you could see that in the projects I intentionally take on to work on.
That's really really good to hear, because like there's no way something's sustainable unless like you yourself get energy from it, like, and I know that from firsthand experience, like building stuff and being an artist and stuff. So it's sweet because like, yeah, I know for sure, like I see it, the energy that you get out of like building things that really help people. And then I know that feeds you to keep the my mom would always say, like, you got to protect the golden goose or whatever. And in this case, you're the golden goose, because like,
I'm a
yeah, because
silly
like that's
goose.
because that actually brought me so much joy. Like, I think it was like a few days ago, you posted a video of you just like drunk playing the keyboard or the piano with a friend, and I'm just like, man, I'm so glad he like takes time to just do like dumb stuff like this, because I know that like that can really recharge a battery.
100%.
Just keep up the good work, man. Like, you're just like such an inspiration in this space. I always like feel so much better when I see like you putting in the work, and like I'm still waiting for the DM too. I want to be in that first round of Circle, please.
You got it, bro. I'll mint NFTs for you. Don't even sweat it. Love you, man.
Yeah. Oh, and big ups to the host. Anytime anyone's got like a nice looking cool cat as the host of a space, I'm just like, okay, this is one good sign.
D is a legend, yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, man. See ya.
Feel free to share the Twitter Spaces move. And maybe we should do one with cool cats as well. It's long due.
Yo, that actually sounds like a really good idea.
I'll message Klondy. Maybe he'll agree to do the spaces with you.
Yep.
Can we get I know Auntie has had her hand raised, and then we can go to Farzad after.
Yeah. Whom do you want to go with?
Auntie, do you have a question?
Yeah.
Hey, lovely.
Hello.
Glad to hear you're looking after yourself, Satvik, because I nag you.
Yeah, no, I'm really glad you do.
No, I'm really pleased to see it, and I loved that video the other day. It was great. Love what you're doing and what you've been through. Big fan of yours. But my question was, as you know, I'm disabled, and just for anyone who's wondering, he does walk the walk as well as talk the talk. This guy has checked on me after surgeries and made sure I'm okay. So, stuff like that's really important, and it's meant an awful lot to me. But on the disability element, I'm in a group. I work with a lady called Taco, who has a project called Unique Gals. I don't know if you've met her yet. And we're really interested in making sure platforms and projects going forward are inclusive of disabilities. So neurodiversity, people with chronic pain and fatigue. So obviously the grind culture is horrific for people like that. And with COVID, more and more people have got fatigue ongoing. And I just wondered what you were doing along those lines to make it a more friendly platform for people with neurodiversities and stuff like that.
Yeah, thank you for asking that question. It's a wonderful question, and also I just have so much love for you. It always just like brightens my day to see your posts or see your comments. So thank you for just being such a wonderful person. In terms of thinking about disabilities and thinking about equitable access, I think that is at the heart of the intentional design, as we call it, that we've been undertaking for Circle. Making sure that it's not an overly complicated or like an overwhelming sensory experience. Things like that I think are important to us, but at the same time I'm happy to say that once we actually launch our NFTs and that sale period is done, we're going to be establishing an advisory council with a few of our friends from different projects, from diverse backgrounds. And I would love to have you or even someone else from that group you mentioned to be on the advisory council to actually guide us on what are the most meaningful ways to incorporate some of that thinking into our process.
I love that. I'm sure we'd really love to do that, because actually it helps everyone, talking about mental health problems and how people experience Web3 and Discord and stuff. So it will help everyone. So yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
And Tina, I'm actually going to reach out to you after this too, because I have all those issues you just mentioned. So expect a DM.
Look forward.
Go for it. Go for it, guys. This is the reason we do this. So people can connect with each other and and get more work done. So Hiran, you've been here for a really long time. Do you have a question? And guys, if you have a question, please raise your hand up.
Thanks for pulling me up. Thanks for pulling me up, Tejas. Thanks a lot again for being here, Satvik, as well. Like, firstly, when I saw you on Twitter, I was like, I did not really like you, just because you had a view opposite to Gary Vee, and I was like, no, this is not the right thing. But then I got the maturity, I got your point, and I so love you today because the thing is that you always stick around to your perspectives, whatever perspective you have, you stick to that. And I really love someone who holds that ground. But today my question is a bit different. You talked about communities, you talked about community managers, even the CRM thing. But my question was more around, do you think that there are enough community managers out there? Is there a good scale of community managers today? What do you think around the same? And if there are proper companies providing the skill sets? Because we are seeing a plethora of projects coming up, and the founders taking most of the hit on building these communities up. But there's a need. We have seen Kashmir, we have seen Dheeraj being there. This is also a community being formed in the hindsight. So, do you think that there is enough scale to this role, or is it like really underrated? What do you think about this? Yeah.
Yeah, good question. So I will say the first point. So I listen, man. I always say stand up for what you believe in, even if you're standing alone. Um, so if I hold a certain belief or perspective, I'm always open to changing that perspective if presented with all the right information. But at the same time, I always stand up for my personal beliefs. And Gary Vee and I have had a few conversations about that, even like in DMs about some of those different topics that I think I know what you're talking about. But he's cool with it. He said he likes me, so I think we're fine there. And then in terms of community managers, I think absolutely. You We are in Web3, which is all about community, and while you don't need a babysitter to tell people what to do or how to interact, I think it helps to have a community manager, which is less a babysitter and more just someone who can facilitate and guide those conversations at times and make sure to prevent malicious actors from potentially ruining the vibe of the community that the founders have worked so hard to curate. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a role that's still gradually getting the respect and attention it deserves. I think having the right set of compensations and rewards for community managers is very important. What we've seen traditionally happen at the moment is project founders will reward certain active community members by making them mods or making them community managers, which is fantastic, right? But it doesn't pay the bills, nor does giving them one free NFT for their participation. And so if we want Web3 to be equitable, wherein everyone has equal access to opportunities, that means making sure that people are getting compensated fairly and enough for their time so they can actually continue to do this stuff. Because if there's two people fighting for a community manager position, one of them is already pretty rich, so they're okay being a community manager for one NFT, versus the other dude who might actually be more passionate about the community but has bills to pay. They're not going to be able to take that position on. And so I think having that fair compensation is something that I always push more and more projects to adopt. Even some of the projects that I've advised on directly or indirectly have told them that because I've seen some of these mods like struggling to pay rent or to pay bills, and I was like, you're gonna send them more money, and we're gonna make sure that these people who are such an integral part of your community's growth are fairly compensated. As you continue to grow, they should continue to grow as well. So, great question. Love all the work that community mods do.
Awesome. That's a great question and great answer, Satvik. We'll go
Can we go to Farzad, please? I know he's been on stage with his hand up for a really long time.
Go for it.
Hi, Satvik, and hi, everyone, and thanks a lot for this talk. I actually learned a lot. I took notes, and it was great. I don't know if it's possible to ask about other questions as well. I mean, if it is not just about the circle, which I'm very interested in, I actually wanted to know more about this happiness house. If it's possible, please, let me know about this project, and when do you think it's can be the launch time and such things. Can you just talk more about this happiness house, please?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you for asking. So Happiness House, it was conceptualized in July last year between Josh Ong and myself. We brought on a really amazing architect by the name of Bianca Karaga, and she's been doing all the designing and putting stuff together. We already have all our designs in some of the areas that we've created in Happiness House posted on our Twitter. It was actually sponsored by Sandbox, so we've fortunately not had to pay anything in terms of land acquisition or building costs. Sandbox has sponsored everything through their Game Maker Fund, which I think speaks to the need and understanding of people that mental health resources are something that's very valuable in the space. And in terms of launching publicly, it's probably going to be a few months because Sandbox isn't doing public access right now. It's only through the alpha passes. So at some point, Happiness House is probably going to be included in the alpha pass access, and so you'll be able to check it out. But until then, we've just been working in the background to solidify some really cool partnerships with different NFT projects, wherein different NFT projects are building their own metaverse plots in Sandbox. And so we're actually going to be opening portals from Happiness House to our partner projects to create a whole ecosystem wherein you not just get to spend time taking care of your mental health and accessing mental health resources, but you can actually go play some mini games, do puzzles, and participate in other plots as well that are all from our partner projects to create this just really exciting ecosystem where the main goal really is to have people thinking about their mental health ultimately. But yeah, it's definitely going to be, I think, a few more months till it's available for everyone to go and access.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much for the information. Great. I'm looking forward for it.
Awesome. Thank you for your question, Farzad. Anuj, go for it.
Hey, hey Dheeraj, hey Satvik. Lovely meeting you, man. Love the energy. All the things that you kind of spoke about uh, makes a lot of sense. And one of the things which I saw is when you kind of spoke about your attention for detail in terms of aesthetic or even choosing the name. Um, I totally get it, and I think just having that kind of energy going into all of the things that you do obviously comes off in very subtle ways, which is possibly captured through these subtle things. So I'm kind of also curious about how this energy is translating to the kind of conversations people would end up having on Circle, because as we all know, sort of what's happening in Discords is kind of a very a lot of info driven, heating kind of a thing. So just curious, how do you see conversations being more richer or engaging, or what's your thoughts of how an UI change or the way they interact change can kind of have the impact on what kind of quality of conversations people might
Yeah.
have?
Yeah, no, that's an amazing question, and I touched on this a bit earlier as well. But see, ultimately, the quality of conversations or the type of conversations are very community member driven. So while we can't obviously influence people to have certain types of conversations, we are trying to facilitate through our UI more and more opportunities to still have meaningful conversations, maybe in smaller groups than you would in your general chat. And that's done with what I was saying earlier is creating, having the option to create breakout rooms that give a little more control over the conversation. So while it's like Discord threads in a way, it's still very different because we are adding a few different features and some things that I can't share at the moment. But is going to allow for a more streamlined conversation, because it's happened to me personally, and most of Circle's UI UX actually comes from personal experiences. Is just, you'd be having a really good conversation with friends in the general chat, and then suddenly it gets lost to floor talk or whatever. And so we wanted to make sure that we can find avenues to retain some of those good conversations, and create that sense of community and foster that sense of meaningful interactions versus just spamming chat for whitelists and stuff. And that's a meta that we want to get rid of. So hopefully, even just through our analytics and stuff that we're planning to have for community managers, they don't have to tell people to level up in chat by spamming. They can actually just see who spends time organically in the chat, or who's interacting most meaningfully in the chat, who's having some cool conversations. And so that's really our intention, is if community managers themselves aren't telling people to chat to level up, it automatically changes the focus and the narrative that you see in the chat.
That's a great point. I mean, like, as we've been kind of also building in the space, and I've been working on Wall, so I totally get the name thing, when, like, you're looking at name and sort of what sort of vibe it creates, and being able to get the right one. And the thing about, you said, of sort of creating spaces for these meaningful conversations, whether that is with the breakout room, or sort of steering the conversation, and the role so UI plays in this whole enabling thing is kind of like, underexplored, I feel. There's something which we've been kind of also experimenting at Wall to see how these conversations are more sort of in the space which is just beyond price speculation. But super happy to talk to you and connect with you, and all the work that you've been doing in the space in terms of mental health is kind of like, pioneering stuff in the space. And love the idea of HH Metaverse, man.
Thank you.
Awesome. Guys, we'll take one last question from James. And yeah, just we'll respect Satvik's time and everyone's time here. Before we go to James' question, I just want to say thank you, all of you, for coming here. I've seen some people here since the starting of the talk, and you're still here, you're going strong. Thank you guys for listening. And if you're liking the space, do share. Let us know your feedback. Let us know whom would you like to have next, and we'll go to James. Go for it, James.
Thanks so much, and it's been a wonderful conversation. Satvik, I've just been really inspired by your journey from social impact to Web3, and I loved hearing about the advisory group idea. And I'm just wondering if you could talk a little bit more about how you're thinking about baking social impact and equity into the platform, rather than what we see in a lot of other places where it's an afterthought at best.
Yeah, that's a great question, James. It's so good to actually be chatting with you. I know we've been following each other for years now. I reached out to James years ago on LinkedIn because I was really inspired by the work he was doing in social impact, and wanted to find ways to collaborate between my mental health venture and his work. So really cool to see us come full circle in the Web3 space now. And in terms of just baking in this idea of social impact, I think that just comes from genuine intention from my co-founder and I, because we have been people very passionate about mental health, about communities, and creating this meaningful approach. And so I think there are going to be a lot of things that we are probably going to be integrating from the semi-anonymous social media that we worked on in college. Some of the filters that we created that were anti-harassment, anti-bullying, and how we could potentially integrate some of those things into the platform. Thinking about how do we incentivize the smaller communities and smaller builders to actually get involved in this space. And one of the things, or one of the challenges with Discord right now, is that to build really amazing server architecture, you need to be a technical person or be highly trained in Discord webhooks and things like that. We're actually making it very easy with native bots and native integration, so you don't have to actually worry about creating this technical infrastructure to create good servers. So even the smallest of indie creators, even the most simplistic of people like myself who are not very technical, still have the ability to create amazing servers for their communities. And just, finding ways where we can meaningfully support the community through different initiatives. Because for me, like giving back is something that's always been a massive part of how I operate and how I do things. So, like I was saying, Circle and Friends, we want to really reward all the community members for a Circle and Friends group. Um, and I think like a lot of this is as we continue to build, we'll find more meaningful avenues where we can increase that impact ourselves and through the communities that we bring on board the platform. And I think the advisory council will also play a massive role in it because we already have a bunch of really exciting people who've agreed to be a part of this from, again, very different backgrounds. Some of them aren't even Web3 people, but they bring a really exciting Web2 perspective to building things. And I think as we continue to grow, there's going to be a lot of learning. I can tell you, like, I can't promise that this is going to be flawless from start to finish, but I've always believed that, the journey is what makes you learn and grow. And I'm excited at times to even fail and fall back a little bit. But I'm sure with like this massive community support that we've been able to garner, that we are ultimately in here for the long haul and we are going to be successful.
Awesome. Thank you for asking that question, James. That's a great answer. Satvik, yeah, you have anything to add?
No, that's
okay.
all.
Okay. Cool. Acha, I thought I heard something. Okay, guys. First of all, like before I'll ask the last question to Satvik, and then we'll do the closing. Satvik, if someone wants to join Circle, not in like Circle list, but like help you build Circle or anything you're doing, how can they go about it? Any closing thoughts on like our discussion? Anything we missed out on?
Yeah. So in terms of joining Circle to help us build, we definitely need people to help us build. So we will be putting up like a whole, like we have already posted like a list of things that we want to hire people for. We're probably going to make like a full kind of application portal down the line so everyone can apply who wants to be part of this. We'll have a lot of roles, even if you're not technical but just want to help us create content or fun stuff like that. So that's that piece. So soon, keep your eyes on Twitter for that. And then closing thoughts, I would just say like build stuff, man. Like I've had so many conversations with people who've been so afraid of getting started because they don't know what they want. Nobody knows what they want. Like you have to leap first, think later is what I tell people. Just get started on doing something. Like you don't have to have it all figured out. You don't need to know what your exact role is. I started in this space as an artist, then I became a social impact consultant, then I became like, something else. Now I'm actually building my own platform. Like that's the beauty of Web3 is there's literally opportunities for anyone and everyone to do whatever they want to put their mind to. So just start doing something, and it doesn't have to be the right thing on day one. You can figure it out as you go. But the worst thing you could do right now is sit on the sidelines and watch because we are super early. This is such an exciting space. So just get your hands dirty and start doing something.
That's great advice. And yeah, I think guys, just my closing comments. First of all, thank you all for being here. Thank you to the speakers who asked these questions: James, Anuj, Bong, Yusuf, Rahul. You've been here for the really long time. Merv, Harshil, Rohit, Hiran, Akshita. Oh, I see you, all of you guys. Rome, El Sit. Elitsa, oh my god, Zo, yeah, all of you guys, I see you. Thank you for all your love and all your support. And yeah, I mean, if you like what we are doing, please follow me. We'll be doing these kind of Twitter spaces almost on daily basis, and get amazing people like Satvik, different builders, flippers, we will be answering questions which, like, people generally don't talk about, but, like, these are the questions you really need to know, right? Like, how do you people talk about, like, hey, I flipped this NFT, and but how, like, what are the steps? How does we get, like, how does, because everyone has a different influence level. How do you get started with NFTs? How do you get started with DeFi? How do I join a DAO? All these questions we want to answer. We do something in Hindi as well, for Indian audience, once a week. I mean, anyone who speaks Hindi, like, a lot of people speak Hindi. So that's very basics of crypto. Tomorrow we are doing and talking about PFP projects. What are they? How does one get into? And, like, what are the properties? That will happen at 9:30 p.m. IST, or 4 p.m. GMT tomorrow. And yeah, but we have a lot of things lined up. And guys, again, follow Satvik, follow me, and if you like the space, please post about it if you learned something. And that's it. Any other CTA I don't have to add. I just want to thank Ashutosh for helping me set up this space, and helping me just do a lot of things with Web3 with Dhee. That's our Twitter Spaces. I want to thank Satvik. We generally don't do Twitter Spaces on Tuesday. We just try to keep a day off. But, like, Satvik wanted to come in, and, like, we didn't have any schedule until April. But, like, we really wanted him to come and share his experience. So he shared his experience for the first time with the community. This was very heart to heart conversations. We spoke about things, like, we generally don't talk about. So thank you for that, Satvik.
Dude, thank you so much for having me, both you and Ashutosh. Like, I would just really appreciate it. And, definitely my first kind of Twitter Spaces talking about my life. It's not easy. There's so much that's happened. So I'm just really glad it was on this show. So everyone definitely, follow Dhee. I always just love the shows that he hosts. Super informative, really great kind of set of speakers always. And yeah, I'm just really glad, this is where Circle's first Twitter Spaces were held. So this will be in our movie one day when the Circle story comes out.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm glad we are part of your journey, and I'm glad you're doing whatever you're doing. We just know, like, a kick-ass person when we see one. So, like, we're happy to have you here, and thank you for the contribution to the space and awesome work you're doing. Guys, if you're not following Satvik, you should go and follow him. Excuse me. If you're not following Circle, go follow Circle. If you're not following me, go follow me. Follow Ashu as well. He's very supportive. And thank you for being here. Bye, good night, and take care, and GM, everyone.